professionals serving community. talkradio.nyc.
And we're back. We're back. It's another Friday morning. I am your boy, the one and only, the kid, the nonprofit sector connector, 2 flights up from the kitchen. I'm on some coffee, man. I'm on a lot of coffee. We just made another pot of coffee. I'm excited today. And you know what it is? It's like 27 degrees on Long Island, and that does not exactly get me fired up. So because it gets me very cold, and I don't like being cold. So I gotta just get really enthusiastic so I can get warm. And I got the space heater here in the attic because this is literally, I'm in an attic. It is right below the roof. Every single Friday morning, when I do come up here, we conduct this important conversation with a leader of a nonprofit organization. And that important conversation I refer to as philanthropy in Focus, Phocus. So if you're looking for me, Tommy D at philanthropyinfocus.com is the email. TommyD.NYC on the Instagram, the new ones on the Instagram, the nonprofit sector connector on Instagram, and also because I'm so focused, whether that's with a P or with a PH or an F for you, I'm so focused on us having this conversation around ending the stigma of mental health and around the conversations about mental health or mental illness. We must have these conversations. And, maybe that's going to happen today. Some of that might come up in our conversations with Robert Vitelli, CEO of LGBT Network. Robert, before I keep ranting, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Tommy. I'm great. Thanks so much for having me. How are you?
I'm fired up, man. I'm ready to go. I got a couple things I got to point out before we get into the conversation about your story, the story of the organization, and the impact and the programs that the organization has. What I just want to shout out is I'm in the process of going through the Long Island Imagine Awards applications. It's so funny because we just finished the New York City event in October. Right around Thanksgiving, the applications come in for the Long Island event. I have friends going, dude, you're like always in a meeting for the Imagine Awards. And I said, well, when my friend Ken Serini threatens that we're going to have the Westchester Imagine Awards pretty soon, it makes me even more anxious. So, but the thing is, I get the opportunity and the honor. I believe it's an honor that I get to read these applications. And then after that, we go out and we interview a handful of the organizations, each of the committee members, and we then go and take those supplements that we write up from those interviews and bring that to the judges. And I'll tell you something, man. I'm sure if I asked, I could be a judge, but I like being on the committee because it's an unbelievable opportunity. We select the judges who come in through application, just as the nonprofit organizations apply. And the judges, that's got to be a difficult job, man, because we give them, the best, the cream of the crop as it relates to applications and supplemental applications. I don't mean the best in the sense of these are all important organizations. And my biggest challenge when I go to the Imagine Award is like, dude, I just want to hook everybody up. I want to help everybody because these are all doing important work. So we'll put that on the side for now, but we'll know in, I guess, the next 4 weeks who the semifinalists are for the Imagine Award. So for Long Island, the event's going to be in April. Robert, let's get into this. I mean, I don't even know if you remember my business partner Ed Probst and you and I had lunch in Bayside, Queens, and it's definitely 8, 9, 10 years ago, something like that, because it was way pre-COVID, that whole thing. So it's a long time ago. I remember we were in Bourbon Street. We had a lunch. I don't think Ed and I knew, like, we kept saying, Ed Probst and I, Vanguard Benefits, and our other partner, Vinny Blasi, many years ago decided that we were going to focus on working in the nonprofit sector. None of us really knew exactly what that meant. I certainly didn't know it would mean that I would become who I am, the nonprofit sector connector. So we had that lunch a long time ago. It's probably been that long since I really got to have a deep dive into what the organization had done, was doing, and is doing. So had the opportunity to be the MC at Philanthropy Day a couple weeks back, and you were one of the panelists. Great storytelling. We had a little bit of fun together. I like to give the panelists a bit of a hard time, keep everybody on point, but it's all in love, all in fun. So today is all about you. It's all about the organization. So, like I said earlier, this show is not very different than the conversations we have when we're not being recorded or streamed. Really, I say I want to learn about you. I want to learn about your journey. I want to learn about what LGBT Network is doing, the future of the organization. And as I always like to say at the end, I noticed something. I was watching some videos and stuff this morning. You've been part of raising $30 million for these causes. So I don't think you're done. So my last question towards the end of the program is, how can we help, man? What do you need? What can I bring? What can my network bring? So with all that, setting all that up, sir, let's start about you,
All right.
background, what drew you to the nonprofit sector, specifically to the work you're involved with now. And let's just get started. Let's go, baby.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much again. Look, the LGBT Network, we're a 501(c)(3) nonprofit charity. And like, there are a lot of organizations. We're a little unique because for Long Island, we are the only nonprofit human services agency whose mission and services are 100% and solely dedicated to serving the LGBT community. So it's a little bit different. So we hope to stand out. But it's the ability for our brands as nonprofit organizations to be known to the greatest number of people possible is so critical. So I really appreciate this opportunity. I want to start by sharing a little bit about the LGBT Network. The LGBT Network is actually now finishing its 32nd year of service. The organization was established in 1993. A lot of people don't know kind of the story of how the organization began, though. Now, while I've been with the organization, it's going to be 24 years next month. Next month, there were a couple years before me. Our president and founder, David, was a master's of social work student at Stony Brook University, and was presented at the last term with doing a paper or doing a project. And he said, well, I don't want to do a paper, I'll do a project. So the project was about creating a curriculum about the experiences of gay and lesbian youth and delivering that curriculum in local schools. And the challenge was significant because getting into the schools was like an undercover effort.
Sure.
And so he was able to get in to, I think, like 6 or 7 schools. And what happened was that the same thing happened at every school. There would be 1, 2, maybe 3 kids that would wait for everyone else to leave the room so that they could approach the speaker, David, and say, is there anywhere for me to go to meet kids like me? And that was really the impetus to say, wow, there needs to be an organization here on Long Island to serve this community. And that's how the organization began. And today, that curriculum is really the bedrock and a pillar of what one major pillar of what the organization does, which is delivering education programs in schools, organizations, and now workplaces in recent years to really have people understand what the experience of the LGBT community is. And of course, today we say LGBT or LGBTQ. Back then, we only said gay or lesbian. Very, very different times. And really being able to advance people's understanding of the experience. And with that understanding, we are creating safer spaces for the LGBT community, which is really the kind of the overarching goal or outcome of our work. And as we want many people as possible to know about that.
So the overarching thing there is that to create safe spaces, which it sounds like, when David was doing this as a project, as it related to his work at Stony Brook for his MSW, it was a situation where I can't speak for him. Maybe you obviously know some more about it. Probably not the original intention was to end up creating an organization, right? But it came out of a project and seeing an opportunity or a need, I guess, a requirement in our communities to create these safe spaces. Sure, and again, 1993. Look, I graduated high school in '96. I was born in '78. 1993 feels like because I lived during that time. Oh, it's not too long ago. No, that's actually really long ago. Like that's really long ago in the situation of not just time. Well, here's why I'm saying that. Tell me. Yeah, we don't want it to be too long because then it makes us feel old. I get it. But here's what I'm thinking. But why I say that is the world was like super different. We talk a lot about inclusion, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging. That's in our lexicon, our vernacular today. We don't really talk about stuff. Like 93, it was just, it was only the 80s, 3.5, 4 years earlier than 1993, right?
Correct.
So talk to me about some of that, the world.
I was born in 74, so I got 4 years on you.
Yeah, yeah.
And I graduated high school in 92. I was in college 92 to 97. For the LGBT community, unfortunately, the backdrop to that time period was HIV AIDS.
Yeah.
And, it created a very different experience for people, different from the 15 to 20 years prior, right? And having, people always talk about the HIV/AIDS epidemic really crushing the LGBT civil rights movement because it literally killed so many of the leaders and activists who were bringing it forward. So in 93, when this organization was starting, that there wasn't even, we were still kind of trying to get over that first hump of fighting HIV/AIDS, and there was a lot of fear. And so now every advance that this movement had made in terms of helping people come out and feel safe to come out were rolled backwards.
Yeah.
Because now people had the stigma and the negativity that was associated with HIV/AIDS. So it became even more important to have that support and to also terse out and separate this association. Yes, we have to acknowledge what this is because we need to help people, but at the same time, we also need to talk about stigma and stereotypes. And that's why I think how this organization began with education and talking about the experiences of kids and the challenges of coming out, I think was so critical. And I think it has forever framed what we do. One of the things we talk about, though, in terms of the mission and what we do as an organization, and it's kind of our ethos, is it's this two-pronged approach. It's understanding that LGBT people need support, right? And we need, the opportunities to have safe spaces and come out and be who we are and to be free, right? And have freedom truly. And of course, there are unsafe spaces in our world. So, but a lot of other organizations might try to fix or heal or solve the LGBT person as the problem. And we always say the LGBT person's not the problem. The LGBT person needs support. The problem is the world that LGBT people live, learn, work, play, and pray. That is the problem that we actually need to fix. So that is why our education and outreach work has been so critical and has really been a cornerstone of what we do so that we can engage more people in what we do. And when I say more people, I mean everyone. Our founder says, we're not so much an LGBT organization as we are a Long Island organization, because the ability and the need to engage and bring into the organization people who are not LGBT identified, we see as central to achieving our mission. Allies have always been a part of this movement. And they have been just critical to, I think, the success of this program. And I always say, we have the straightest LGBT gala in America because that's how many non-LGBT people support this organization.
I'm sorry, there's fun in that. You have the straightest LGBT gala in America. That's fun to me. I like that. I was gonna ask you while you were saying that, even before you said the word ally or allyship, I wrote down allyship, and then you said it's essential, critically important to point that out, right? Like, not to say that I know all that much about the civil rights movement, but there was a lot of people who were not people of color that were allies during the civil rights movement, right? So that essential nature is a consistent theme, I would imagine, in history, that there needs to be that support of different people. I mean, that's what I'm feeling from what you're saying, and why I haven't been to your gala, I don't know. So we must address that and fix that. And
Okay.
going into next year, I got to be at the gala. I tend to be quite fashionable when I go to galas, so I think it'll be a good party that I would like to be at next year. So we'll work that out. When is the gala anyway? We'll get to it later, but tell me, do you have the date for 25?
Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025, Crest Hollow Country Club, 6 p.m.
Not that we're pushing you guys to show up, gang, but that's what it is. Wednesday,
Fun.
April, give it to me again.
April 23rd. It's fun. It's always a cocktail style format, lounge furniture, just networking, food, a lot of food.
Yeah, I love that because let's be honest, gang, the folks who plug into this often are connected to and or run nonprofit organizations who pay attention to what I'm doing. And sometimes, not very often, but sometimes a gala cannot be all that much fun if it stays the old school way. But I dig that. You say cocktail style. I see like those stand up airport tables, schmoozing, having a good old time, right? You say the couches. That's a different scene. So I'm definitely into what you were working on there. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. Look, we're talking education. We're talking the experience of people because, like, that's what I believe. What the human experience is, right? Putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, trying to see the world through their eyes, through their lens, and then you can understand, right? Robert, we'll talk more about that, but I think that's what it's about, man. I only know the experience I have had in 46 years, right? So I have to be with people and understand what their experience has been. And
Yeah.
gang, guess what? Just because somebody looks like somebody, right, doesn't mean they understand what that other person's experience is, man. You know what I'm saying? Robert Vitelli and I might look similar if you were from a different community, but we've had very different lived experiences, I'm sure, right? So anyway, don't, you gotta be mindful of these things. Some of this stuff seems obvious, but I put it out there because it's in my brain, and maybe you weren't thinking it, gang, but we must just connect. Individuals, not groups, individuals, right? Robert, real quick on that one, just what I'm saying there. It's about individual needs and things, right?
Yeah. And, I think for us, it's about people sharing their stories and their experiences as individuals. And I think, we talk about change. And I think, hearing people always talk about the head, the heart, and the gut, and appealing to those three parts of human beings. And when we, I think, share those stories and sometimes the challenges that we have and how we are different and how we are alike, I think is really helpful to bringing people together and uniting people.
I love that last piece, how we are different and how we are alike. Because at the end of the day, dude, we have a whole lot more in common than we don't have in common, right? And I think, now I'm gonna get on one of my conspiracy trips here, but like I think there are certain parties of society that dig the fact that many of us at other levels are arguing about differences. When if we boil it down to the differences are few, right? At the end of the day, you said appeal to the head, heart, and gut. Gang, we want love. We want it love for and connection and compassion for our families, our communities, our people. What are we told we ever want? And if we focused on that, PH or an F, I don't care how you spell focus. If we focused on those things, love and compassion, man, it would be a better place. Let's go to break. Robert and Tommy in the attic, philanthropy and focus. Right back.
Are you a conscious co creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Broncu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Made that plea now for I don't know, going on 200 weeks because as we hit February of 2025, we will hit 200 episodes of what was just an idea. And when the song says "Join Tommy in the Attic," like don't really show up in my house because it's not a big space. We don't have room for everybody. Can't really have a party in the attic. I mean, I might have to rent out a place one day and decorate it like the attic, and we'll have a party there. But it's join me in this community that we created. Join me in plugging into what we're doing. Join me in the attic. That's my friend Brendan Levy, Uncle Brendan Levy from the Queens Chamber of Commerce. Actually going to see his band tomorrow night at Docks in South Long Island, South Shore, Long Island, Nassau County, and Island Park area. So if you are anywhere in range to that, reach out to your boy, and would love to hang out with you and see Brendan's band. So they got a band. They used to be called The Goods, and I've said this story before. And now, as older men, they call themselves Damaged Goods. But let me tell you something, man. They can rock. They can still rock, and they're a lot of fun.
Glad you said something, because I was like, how did he get the Beach Boys to record his theme song?
Oh my God! You don't? Yes, yeah. That was Uncle Jesse Stamos from Full House. Yes, on the drums for sure. Jesse and the Rippers from Full House. Yeah, the Beach Boys. Yes, that's just how I got it, baby. It's just what it is. A lot of people want to help.
I love the Beach Boys.
I do too. I do too. All right, let's get into it. I was sharing the website while we were at break. LGBTnetwork.org, LGBTnetwork.org. Want to get it out to you, the letters and everything spelled correctly. Check that out, Robert. While I was looking at it, Astoria, shout out to Queens, my favorite borough, Bayshore, Bridgehampton, Hauppauge, and Sag Harbor. So those are some of the actual locations. So really, we got to set the stage. I mean, we talk about background, we talk about history of the organization, talk about David and his project, out at Stony Brook. Shout out to Stony Brook. We're making a lot of good friends out there. And tell me about the organization. This is your story. This is the story of the organization. Sure. I really want you to take it in a direction you feel is best, but tell me about the organization, please.
So I started at the organization in January of 2001, and the organization was not called LGBT Network then. It was called Long Island Gay and Lesbian Youth, and its acronym was pronounced, confusingly, pronounced as Legally. And of course, everyone thought that, that meant we were like a law firm. Right. But it was LIGALY. And we were a youth services organization. And so in those first few years that I started, it was, I call it like a time. There was a lot going on for the LGBT movement, and there was a lot of foundational things that were happening. So for us, it was really the growth and proliferation of after school Gay Straight Alliance, or GSA clubs. And there was a ton of advocacy, and we'd go to school board meetings, and we were helping staff, we were helping kids who were fighting for their right to just have this after school club, to have a safe space. And that really became a real signature of our work, and really kind of bolstered who we were. In 2001, that year, we also, when I started, we should do like a prom for the kids. And David was like, we used to do one here at the center, but we should go to a catering hall. And I was like, absolutely. And I've always did events like in college. So I was like, we need of course. And we were trying to figure out how to promote it and get more kids to know about the event. And we're like, it's so hard beyond the kids the organization already serves. And so David kind of really tapped into his PR background. And, we did a press release to try to get this mega early lead, like in April, for our prom in June. I'll never forget the date, June 10th, 2001, at Island Hills Golf and Country Club in Sayville, which is no longer. And what happened is what we never would have expected, because we were trying to get just like a little story, like a Newsday or something, right? Like, maybe someone can run something, like, but probably not. But, it was like a Hail Mary. Yeah. We knew that it would land on the front page of the New York Times.
No kidding. Really?
Actually, oh my gosh, it's the date of our gala this year. On April 23rd, 2001, the top, with pride and corsages, gay prom reaches the suburbs. And it was what they learned through their research. It was a slow media cycle, a slow news cycle, was that it was the first time in the country that there was a gay prom in the suburbs, because all the other gay proms that happened were like in major metro areas, like in a city like Boston or Chicago. And this was the first time that it was like the suburbs. And so when the event came, I don't want to say the word as a negative, it was a media circus. We had to come up with this whole plan about protecting the kids, but getting the media in and this whole thing.
Okay, so let's pause for a second. So the article comes out in April. The prom isn't going to be until June. So it's not like you can get away with people not showing up with the cameras and stuff like that, it sounds like, right? Oh my goodness. So you're trying to have a great party for these young people, and it turns out to be like maybe a little chaotic, or what?
We nailed it.
Okay.
It was, hey, get here at this time. And basically we locked the media in a room during cocktail reception or press conference. And then once the kids hit the ballroom, we kind of let them out for a select number of kids who were okay with being interviewed, and protecting the kids while still getting that story out, right? Like, this was a big story, and being able to have kids talk about what this meant for them. And we had, we get it was a VHS tape of all the media coverage that day. I know, but there was 45 minutes of coverage from that day, and it was on all the major networks, and it was like a huge deal, but it started a conversation, right? Like, it's what we did for those kids that night that they'll always remember, and we always hear about that when we connected those kids. But it also started a conversation about, is this really the experiences of LGBT kids? And what are schools doing? Because these kids are saying they don't feel comfortable going to their own school proms, or they're being told that they can't go to their own school proms with a date of the same gender. And that really began conversation, and it helped create opportunities for us as an organization to advocate for LGBT kids, to say, hey, look at what these kids are talking about. Look at their experiences. Look at the fear. Let's look at the statistics of bullying that these kids face. Let's talk about, and really, something that, I know is a kind of a pet focus issue for you, is let's talk about the mental health of these kids and the suicide rates. These kids are 40% more likely to be homeless. They're 2 to 3 times more likely to abuse alcohol and other drugs as a coping mechanism. They're more likely to get kicked out of their homes or run away. The disproportionate number of kids still that are part of the foster care system, but that these kids are hearing these negative things about them every single day at school, all the time. And that helped schools pay more attention to what was going on and say, hey, we need to do something. So, when I started, there was one GSA on Long Island that this organization helped start in 1998. And by the end of my first year, fortunately, and I had a chance to be a part of this and drive it and design it, which was so cool. In that first year, I think we helped start like 25 to 30 clubs. And then after that, it was just, it blew up in the best sense. And now, over the years, we've helped start over 100 GSA clubs in all these different schools. And again, it's been a hallmark of what we do. And of course, connecting with more kids and more kids coming to our center where we were in Bay Shore. But what that led to was really an evolution for the organization, because we had all these kids coming through year after year after year, but we only serve kids or young adults. So kids were aging out. They were becoming 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and there were no other services. We were the only community center for the LGBT community. And kids were saying, well, now what do I do?
So, all right, so let's stop here for 1 sec. So evolution, right? So the prom, I'm seeing this prom, incredible night, right? Everybody benefits, and you have all this opportunity now. Was the organization even ready for all that opportunity? Because now the calls are probably coming in, and like, what about a collaboration? Or we could really use a GSA in our school, or, now the organization has to grow. And then I hear another evolution going, oh, wow, our folks are aging out. Where are the adult programs to support these people, right?
Yes. Yeah. So, fortunately, we were really ready as an organization. I mean, despite how small we were, we actually had the capacity to kind of handle it. But I think we also had the skill. David, look, he was the first graduating class for public relations for Long Island University at CW Post. And he's gotten every dollar's worth out of that degree. And, from there, so I feel very fortunate to have been brought into the organization at that time, because all of that work with GSA clubs really I was able to use a lot of my experience and background for that work. So it was just like it clicked. The evolution, though, of saying, hey, now what? Because there's no other services, that was like the other part where it was like, okay, we've got this part, we're cranking, we're helping, we're being successful. It's great, right? But now we have all these other people that are like, hey, what about me? We were hosting a transgender group. We were hosting the Long Island Gay and Lesbian Switchboard. And so there were these elements of being a center and people saying like, well, what can we do? And that's where we came up with a really innovative plan to move forward, to retain our history, but also to substantially expand how we could serve people, which was really a roadmap for our future.
And that's what we're going to hear about when we come back from a break, is that plan, that strategy, that innovation, what the future was at the time, what the future is at this time, and the incredible work the organization is doing. We're going to take a quick break, right back.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic.
Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Hi, I'm Linda Marsanico. The A Train to Sedona is a memoir about my journey to love and compassion. It's also the name of my new broadcast on Wednesdays at 12 noon. When we are spiritual, we embrace possibilities and ideas, which strengthen our mind, body, spirit, health, and wisdom. On the A Train to Sedona broadcast, I plan to interview guests who embrace these expansive practices. Join us on Wednesdays at 12 noon on Talk Radio New York City.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
All the static, join Tommy in his attic. That's right. Sometimes you want me to sing, sometimes you don't want me to sing. I understand, but I like to sing. I actually, this year was going to be the year 24 that I was going to start taking some singing lessons, and we're running out of 2024. I did not take the singing lessons. But then again, when I hear my wonderful voice, I'm not sure I even need the lessons. You guys, give me some feedback. Let me know what you all think. Should Tommy take singing lessons? There's a good question. I would like to do that next year and it's funny. I have one of my children who is a singer and takes lessons and has a singing coach. And I said, I'm going to start working with the same singing coach. And I would just say my child did not really dig that whole thing. So I guess I need my own singing coach. So if you're a singing coach and you want to work with the nonprofit sector connector, let's do that. Reach out. Robert, this is what happens. It's very stream of conscious. I just kind of say what's inside of my head, man, you know? So welcome back, everybody.
Singing is an incredible and powerful therapeutic experience.
Thank you. Well, see, I'm trying to end the stigma of mental health issues around this planet, gang. So maybe I'll sing you through that.
Exactly.
So more like you come to this opportunity where you get to, we actually have to be a center, right? We is that what? Tell me about that.
When I started, we were in a second floor walk up on Main Street in Bayshore,
Okay.
right? And the organization had been there since 1995. That was the organization's first space. Into the first 2 years, the organization was actually able to identify and purchase a building 2 blocks away on Park Avenue in Bayshore, which was the organization's home for a very, very long time. So we actually had a space. So we had a space, we had actually some groups meeting there, and then we had a need. And so things just kind of came together and it was like, we should do something. But we were so nervous about losing the identity of the organization, Long Island Gay and Lesbian Youth, known as Legally, but still needed to do something else. So we had created this very unique structure of having multiple organizations to serve different parts of the community. One of those organizations was what is today really LGBT Network. And what enabled us to do was to expand. And one of the biggest parts of, I think, what we've done is to serve the LGBT older adult community. And through our program called Long Island Sage, we've been doing that since 2007. So we created the structure in 2005, really launched in 2007. And so, we're coming into 17 years of having this really innovative structure that's been able to propel the organization forward, to secure more resources, and ultimately serve a ton more people. Our older adults, LGBT older adults, a lot of people don't understand, number one, this is a community that came out at a very different time and have been coming out. We serve people that came out in the 60s and 70s or earlier, and we're serving people who just came out yesterday, who are 70.
Oh, coming out as an adult, you're saying too. Right.
So just because they're 70 doesn't mean they came out 40, 50 years ago. Right. Sometimes there are people that we serve who are 70 that came out last month or in the last year. Sometimes there are people that came out in, 1965. So, and they have all very different experiences and a lot of needs. You know, sure, some of them married someone of the opposite gender, had kids, and you know, they have a family, but a lot of folks didn't get married. They don't have kids. Some of these people were horrifically rejected from their family, so they don't have a support system, many of them. This organization in our program for older adults creates that community and that support network. And we actually did a study with our constituents. By virtue of participating in this program, they actually have people to call upon in the event of an emergency, which for the older adult community is critical. It is critical. And so we are creating a broader community. And sometimes, you know, we talk about a chosen family for LGBT people who often, you know, again, the sense of rejection, particularly in the past decades, were devastating. There's you know, they are LGBT older adults overall, like they're more likely to live alone, but because they were rejected from families, maybe they weren't married, they don't have kids, or you know, this is a population of people who were impacted by HIV/AIDS and lost people along the way. So there are so many challenges, and that's why the beauty of our program to create that community. And then over the years, I'm jumping, you know, having the chance to create LGBT friendly, affordable senior housing.
Is that part of Long Island Sage that falls under that, or is that a different?
Well, it's our whole umbrella. So the LGBT network basically is our umbrella. And yes, we have these different organizations. We learn through a branding process and focus groups. No one cares about the other organizations. They just want services. Please give us one name. So the name is LGBT Network. But that housing, so first of all, let me back up. Where we had our original community center that we purchased, 34 Park Avenue, we partnered with a developer, fortunately. They knocked down that center. And then they bought the properties next door. And I think something very beautiful and poetic, they knocked down what was the youth center to build this senior housing.
Oh, wow. So that all the history on that plot of land, right?
You know, so like breaking down the kind of the early part of the organization and literally using that to reconstruct something for the future and to take care of the older generation in this community. So there's something really beautiful, I think, in that. And I think then talks about and highlights the fact that this organization serves the LGBT community throughout the lifespan. And we have tailored programs for each part of the community. So we take care of age, we take care of identity. You know, we have group programs, in-person and virtual, for folks who are transgender. We help LGBT people grow their families and build community around families. So, you know, whether it's like, you know, do you want to become a foster parent? Do you want to adopt? Do you want to do IVF? And then once you have your family, we have ways for you to connect, because being an LGBT-headed family sometimes isn't so easy.
Yeah.
It's a little hard.
Sure.
So we do that too. And then there are a lot of LGBT people, you know, who speak Spanish. And some people are immigrants, some people are new Americans, and their access to services is limited. So we serve an increasing number of LGBT people who often or always speak Spanish. We actually have a program that's exclusively delivered in Spanish because there's so many people who need those services, and they, you know, English is not their primary language, but that program is growing. And, you know, it's amazing to see. We had to actually expand the program. It was originally only for men.
Okay.
And now, you know, it's for, you know, anyone. And it's just continued to grow. And I think that's the theme for a lot of our programs, is growing and growing and growing. We always talk about Long Island, but this organization now for 11 years has actually been in Queens and New York City.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I again, being a Long Islander and having some awareness of this organization really through knowing you over the years and stuff is something that, you know, maybe because I'm a Long Island guy and this is my neighborhood and stuff, I don't think that way. But when I recently hung out by you and we were talking about Queens, but now you say New York City, like we're talking about Manhattan and Queens, or like what other boroughs? Like there's other organizations, I guess, as you said earlier, like even if when you talked about the prom, right? Like if you think of Manhattan and you think of Manhattan, my buddy was the I guess the president of Pride NYC, Kaz Alexander, a guy who I know from the Institute for Nonprofit Practice. So I wonder, there's just probably so much more opportunity to collab in at least in Manhattan, I guess. But opportunity, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I feel like there, you know, I don't know what goes on in the Bronx. I don't know what goes on in Staten Island. But I think
Sure.
New York City proper, Manhattan is like on the front lines, I guess. Is it?
So let me say this, and maybe this will help me talk a little bit more about the different parts of the organization as we kind of go forward. You know, LGBT community centers are a significant pillar for LGBT people throughout this country. There's almost 200 LGBT centers.
Okay.
We're probably one of the largest suburban ones. And our Hop Community Center, we believe, is the largest LGBT center in suburban America at 15,000 square feet. And still, it's a growing movement.
Sure.
But there are centers in each one of the boroughs. But yes, you are correct, Tommy, that there are a lot more service organizations. And so, yeah, there are the opportunity to collaborate and help more people by virtue of those partnerships, which has been really incredible. We have one of our community centers in Astoria, great community, great success there. We're actually in an external suite at Kaufman Astoria Studios at 35th and 35th. It's really wonderful neighborhood. And I think people come from different boroughs too.
Okay.
And then our education programs are not just utilized in Queens. I always say, like, our education programs are kind of the calling card for this organization, because we're going to the Bronx, to Brooklyn, Manhattan, and all throughout Queens to deliver our education programs in a lot in schools and in organizations. And so those create just endless opportunities to engage with people, meet new people, introduce them to the organization, and partner with other organizations. It's been great.
Yeah, that is great. And I listened, you know, I saw something on your website, and I was at Citi Field on Pride Night this year. You know, the Mets have, and I actually had a really cool opportunity. I'm on the board of Horseability, many people know. I had this really cool opportunity to go out to an event the other night, and Siegelman Stables, Max Siegelman, who is dad, Robbie Siegelman, who's been a longtime volunteer at Horseability, has a brand called Siegelman Stables, and it's a fashion brand. And I got a nice Mets Siegelman hat and a really, really cool stuff. And you know, the Mets, man, so focused on inclusion. I just, you know, whether it be disability or LGBTQ, you know, it's like just bringing people together and having that inclusive thing. I don't know if you're a Met fan or not. I don't know if you're a baseball fan or not, but you are a Met fan?
I have to be.
Yeah. I understand now. Okay, good. Understood.
Not because of our partnership with the Mets, but because of the households I live in.
A different partnership. Yes, I got it.
A lifelong household Mets fan.
All right, good. Well, then we got to get out to a game, because the Mets do just such a great job, and it was a really big win for the Mets. Juan Soto. All right. Anyway, not Mets right now. Let's go Mets. So Queens, I think, is just a great opportunity for collaboration. You're already there. We're gonna get into, like, when we take a quick break now, we come back. It's really the future of the organization. What do you need? And it leans into programs. It leans into kind of what we're talking about as expansion and stuff. Like, what does it look like? How can we help? Who do you want to connect with? And I was looking over I'll actually share the website while we're at break, everybody. But I was looking at just some of your board of directors and the people that serve the organization, and, you know, great relationships. And I'm sure you could benefit from additional relationships. So I'm going to give you, when we go to break, you have, like, I don't know, 90 seconds. When we come back, what do you need? Honestly, Robert, like, most organizations are going to say, hey, Tommy, we need additional funding. We need donors. Yes, of course. I know that. And you're welcome to say that as well. And it's also, what else? Like, you know, Tommy, we really love, like, I had Lisa Birch from Epic Long Island on the program, you know, Lisa, and she was saying that what they need is a corporate partner for their community garden for their adults with intellectual developmental disabilities. Looking for that. I'm out there looking. You might have something similar. So we're going to take a quick break. I'll show the website, everybody, but if you're only listening and not watching, go to lgbtnetwork.org. Robert and Tommy D right back.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, And each week, top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays, 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
Cut through the static. We're back. We are back, baby. All right, let's do it. Let's get to it. So, Robert, what do you see? We got maybe 9 minutes, 10 minutes left on the show. What do you see as, like, the vision of the future? How can we help? What can we get connected? Well, to make it very succinct, like a lazy networker, I'd say, what do you need, man?
Sure. Well, let me just take one step back, because we do so much at this organization. A lot of people don't understand the breadth of what we do. So super quick, we are an LGBT center organization. We've talked about that. Our main center is Astoria, Hauppauge, Bayshore, and our satellites in the Hamptons. We are an LGBT services organization, so we have group programs, support groups for parents, for people in the LGBT community. We have counseling. We have we connect people to LGBT affirming and inclusive resources. But we're also the LGBT Pride organization. So we do not one, not two, we do 3 Pride parade and festivals. So we do New Queens Pride in Jackson Heights. We do the official Long Island Pride in Huntington Village, and we do North Fork Pride out in Greenport. And that's a huge part of what we do. And of course, we also do Pride Night with the Islanders. That's coming up in January. And we do Pride Night with the New York Mets. So we have like our own Pride franchise.
I love that. I got to stop you 2 quick things. First of all, my dad owns Ralph's Italian Ices in Huntington Village next to the Paramount Theater. So yeah. So we got to talk about what we could do together. You have a date on that one? On the one in Huntington?
Long Island Pride is Sunday, June 8th, 2025.
All right, so we got to talk about that. There's probably, at the very least, I got to donate some Rainbow Ice, gang, right?
Okay.
We'll get into that. June 8th. All right, very cool. So please continue.
So we're kind of doing a little bit of everything, from advocacy to services to providing a safe space, and then our education programs out in schools, organizations, and businesses. So that's kind of the full breadth. And that is really, for us as an organization going forward, kind of really focusing in on those core services and how we can do more of them for more people. So in terms of what we need, we want people to help us spread the word about who this organization is. And, in January, we're going to be launching a whole new campaign about people getting involved. It's really an engagement effort to say, hey, hashtag do something. How do you want to create a safe space? And, is it about volunteering? Is it about hosting a house party to help us raise money? Is it about becoming a donor? Is it about joining one of our committees? Like I run our LGBT Workplace Council, or professionals out there that want to get involved with LGBT inclusion stuff at work and helping us talk about what else we can do. Just as one example. Or, hey, we just did our first car meetup in September, so getting involved with our future car meetups for the LGBT community and our allies. It was fun. It's called Rainbow Rides. It was very cute.
Wait, go. I don't even know what that means. What's a car meetup? What do you mean?
Sure. Like, it's literally, you love your car, you bring your car. Now, mostly like, in the world, it's like classic and muscle cars, but like we open that up, like we're inclusive, right? So it's like, come bring your ride.
All right, so now let's be honest, man. I saw you pull out of the parking lot one night with your ride. I don't think what you're saying is I should show up with my, 2018 Nissan Sentra is not exactly like what you're talking about, right? Like different, inclusive.
Look,
maybe I should.
Look, the criteria is, do you love your car?
I love my car, man. Yeah.
And that's all that counts.
I love that. That's funny. That's a good thing.
But these are new opportunities, and that's really the future of the organization. What are the different opportunities that we can have to bring in and engage people to help them build community, to connect with each other. And I feel like that's kind of like everything for folks in this community, because, you're talking about like way back when, and I, graduated high school, went to college, and I really was away off of Long Island for 8 years. That was a time where there were all these gay and lesbian bars on Long Island that's how people connected.
Sure.
There's like 1.5 bars now.
Well, the other part of that too is there were bars. Now, as a guy who 14 years sober, I would say, like, if I was looking to connect with people in community and the only place to do it was a place where they served alcohol, and that's not my bag, man. Well, that's a problem, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And now, for better or for worse, people don't have the same opportunities to connect. So for us, we feel a responsibility, a need, an opportunity, of course, to do something for this community overall to help people, right? So a lot of people just see us as like crisis or like support. And it's like, no, we're more than that. Like, we want, you can also come to us when you're happy or don't need anything.
Which is great too, because if you are an individual who's having a great time and things are going well, you'd be a great asset to this organization too, to help out, right? Like, we'll help you when you're in crisis. We'll help you when you have serious need, and it's like a triage type situation to make the right referrals. You have that, but it's just like, let's have a good time together. Let's be together, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, we have so many different opportunities for people to get involved, and also to support. Look, nonprofit organizations do not operate on rainbows and unicorns. We need donors, we need investors, we need sponsors, we need funders to be able to say, you know what, this is important, and I want to support this opportunity. So we really focus on the different opportunities. So you can support our Educate, like an anti-bullying program. You can support, counseling for a kid. You can support, you can support one of our Pride events. So there's a lot of different opportunities for people. We just started an effort called Pride Scholarship Fund, where people can name a fund in their name to support one person for an entire year to have our services available for free. And that's the other thing, is we don't charge for our programs and services. We don't even charge for Pride. We're one of the few Prides in this country where you don't have to pay to get in.
Okay. Wow. So
all the stuff that we do is free to people.
I want to ask you this. Free is great. It's one of my favorite prices, actually. So when you just talked about, and we talked about this when I saw you and we took the picture with the surfboards and stuff like that, you said the LGBT workforce, did you say committee or workplace?
Workplace council.
I wrote it so sloppily. It started with a C, but I couldn't see what the rest of the words was. So the workplace council. So from my perspective, thinking in terms of, going in and educating employers on how to be more inclusive and create ERGs and different groups and things like that, right? That's like one level of it, but then there's this other level of, corporate partnership, meaning dollars, right? And, it's cool that XYZ big company on Long Island, wants to bring in programming to be inclusive of everyone. But then it's like, isn't there an opportunity for somebody from that organization to join your board, or for them to fund you for these different things, right? So I'm sure from a CEO's perspective, strategically, that's a lot of the work you're doing, right? So you might want more corporations to play with in locally, or not just locally, right?
Yeah. A lot of companies get involved with us and they want to be a partner and they want to sponsor. And so we see a lot of companies sponsor a Pride event, sponsoring our workplace initiative, taking advantage of our workplace education programs for either them or for their employees, their team members, and then sometimes selecting another opportunity, whether that's our Coming Out Wear the Ribbon campaign, whether that's our another program, or supporting another fundraising event like our gala, or our Winter Pride event in Queens on Saturday, January 18th. That supports our New Queens Pride Parade and Festival. So there's so many different opportunities that we have.
I think you should give out gloves if it's cold, because like I don't want I was outside. I told you before it started, it was super cold. So Winter Pride, there should be mittens or gloves or something to be given out. Somebody wants to support that. There's a funder that wants to give out gloves, the LGBT network gloves. I look on your website under careers. You have an opportunity for a mental health clinician out of the Hauppauge location, and you're also looking for a development coordinator out of Hauppauge. Go to the website, gang, lgbtnetwork.org. Check into that type of stuff. So if I am somebody that wants to become more involved with the organization, and I am somebody who wants to become more involved with the organization, but if I'm not Tommy D and I'm somebody else, it's fun. Language is fun. If somebody wants to become more aware, I've shouted out the website, but there's two quick things I want you to point out. There's something about a chamber of commerce. I remember that, hearing you say that. Can we talk that real quick? And then my follow-up question to that would just be, what's the best way to plug into the organization?
So the LGBT network is also the Long Island LGBT Chamber of Commerce. So we're connecting companies of all types and sizes, including companies that are not LGBT owned. You don't have to be an LGBT owned or managed company to be involved. It's about inclusion, but really creating those opportunities in particular for LGBT owned small businesses to connect, and sometimes connecting with larger companies is really critical. So a lot of our sponsors and funders are part of the chamber. And it's about making those connections, giving opportunity to folks in order to really achieve, a different type of equity. And of course, fun. Last night we had our holiday chamber mixer up at the Spotlight Paramount, which is a great place.
It's a great place.
And again, it's just about those connections, and that's a big part of what we do is just connecting people, and that's central.
Yeah, so and they can get there through the website. I found it, so it's lgbtnetwork.org/LGBT-chamber.
Yeah.
What I did was I just Googled it while Rob was speaking.
Google it. It's on our menu. We have our business directory. We have our health directory. You can become LGBT Network certified if you're a business organization. And then you can email us at info@lgbtnetwork.org. It's probably one of the easiest ways. info@lgbtnetwork.org. You just attend a program. You can sign up to volunteer. And of course, folks can give some bucks.
Yes.
Every single dollar helps, is appreciated. To support what we're doing, folks can decide how they want their donation to be used, which is really important to us. And or if they're not sure how to get involved, they can just reach out to us and say, "Hey, I want to get involved. Talk to me."
I love it. All right. Well, public service announcement. Robert said you can say how your funds want to be used, but I would like for organizations, donors, funders to bring unrestricted dollars to nonprofit organizations, because I don't know if you know things, gang, but a nonprofit organization is a business who has employees and who buys insurance and buys workers' comp. They actually are running a business, so they need money that they can use to run their business. Some people know exactly who I'm talking to out there in the world, and the deal is, let's make sure we understand that these organizations need to run themselves. When somebody says, when funders, or I guess I'm on my soapbox, when funders complain, or rather, when funders say that you must do this and you must, none of this can go to run your organization, that to me is silly. So unrestricted dollars, super important. That's a whole nother show for another day. But Robert, I felt like in what you were saying, it was important to plug that in there. Robert Vitelli, CEO, LGBT Network. My friend, I appreciate you. Any final words, and then we got to go.
Tommy, it's always great to connect with you. It's always fun to connect with someone who has more energy than me. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate what you do for the nonprofit community. And thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody. Make it a great day. We'll see you next Friday morning. I will be right here. I'll be waiting in the attic until you guys come back. See you. Bye.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions.